Hello everyone. So welcome again to yet another video, and today we are going to do something really exciting. We are going to use the OpenAI API key and the API call, the basic API request call, and we are going to build an AI agent from scratch. So we will not use any AI agent framework, but we will learn how to build this from scratch just using Python code. So as a prerequisite for this specific video, you will need to get an OpenAI API key. For this, you will have to recharge it with some money, and you have to go to platform.openai.com. So I will quickly show this. The platform.openai.com. So you have to log in and then get your API key from here. So you can go here and you can access your API keys. So I have gotten mine, so you have to get yours as well. So, and we are going to use this very basic API request call which OpenAI has provided. So you have to create a new client here, and then you can send your messages. You can choose your model and you can pass your input. For example, here the input is write a one sentence bedtime story about unicorn, and then you will get it in the response, and you can print it out here like this. So we will start with this and we will try to build this as an agent. So first step is we will test this out, how this basic API works. For this, as I mentioned, you have to have an API key. What I have done is I have created a .env file. In this file, I have pasted my OpenAI key. The way to load this is you have to load this Python framework called .env, and then you have to load this. So basically it finds this .env file and then it copies it so that the OpenAI API key is available. As a first step, we create the client from OpenAI by importing the OpenAI package. And then we say we give this model GPT 4.1 nano. It is cheaper, so it's fine. And what we are saying is we are providing it with a message. We are saying that the role of this person who is performing this is user. So we learn about roles a little bit when we build our agent. So it's nice to have a role so that ChatGPT can distinguish if this is a user message or if this is a system message. Having a system message helps ChatGPT understand the background of the context. So you can provide context as system messages. So the content here is hello ChatGPT, which model are you? So what we will do is we will quickly run this to see how the response is. So I will just quickly run this here, and it should actually give a response to our question. So the answer is hello, I am based on ChatGPT 4 architecture developed by OpenAI. How can I assist you today? So this is hello ChatGPT, what model are you was the question. So it says I'm based on ChatGPT 4 architecture, which is okay, fair enough. So we have our very basic ChatGPT working here, the same how you would access via a UI on a browser, the same one. We can do it like this. We can change the models here, and we can change our messages here, and we can ask it anything what we want. But this is not the goal of today. The goal of today is to build an agent from scratch. So this is the agent code. To keep the video short, let's say I'll probably just explain the code rather than writing it. I've checked whether everything works fine or not. So this is the code that we checked earlier. I have commented this out. So rest all remains the same. So we import, we load the .env file, we import OpenAI packages, and then we create this client from OpenAI. Okay. Now we start with the system prompt. And here we are using a concept of or let's say agent framework, let's say, of this particular loop. The loop will be called thought, action, pause, and observation. So we have to clearly tell the agent that it has to perform its responses in this order. The idea is whenever you give ChatGPT a question, it immediately gives you an answer. But this is not the goal of an agent. With an agent, you want it to think about the problem that has been provided, not merely immediately give a response. So if the problem is complex, it will have to think through and break it down and then perform an action. Here we will give tools to our agent to perform any action, and we will also build some dummy tools, and then it has to pause, take a breather and observe the output, and then if it feels that this output is the final result, only then it will output. Okay, next, for our example today, we will be providing it with two different actions. So first action is the calculate action. This is just a simple built-in Python Python executor that will execute if you provide it with 2 plus 2 equals to 4. So if you provide 2 plus 2 as string, it will execute it as 4 and it will return the answer. And then we'll work with some average dog weights. We have some examples for this. And we also provide it with an example session saying, okay, if the question is how much does a bulldog weigh, you should actually think. So this will be how you should think. I should look at the dog's weight using average dog weight, because this is a tool that has been provided to it. So it has to use this tool and it has to pause, and then you have to perform the observation from using this tool that a bulldog weighs 51 lbs or whatever, and then you have to output the answer. So this is the framework that we are providing this agent. So what was the first step when we did this? We provided it with hello ChatGPT, what model are you? And it provided us with a default answer. We don't want this. We want to clearly explain ChatGPT that now you are an agent, and the agent, as an agent, you have to perform this flow of actions or flow of thoughts: thought, action, pause, observation. You want ChatGPT to perform all this in a loop, and we will build this loop. Okay, so this is the prompt, this is the system prompt, and what we will do is we will start by building a class agent. Okay, so in the class agent, we will initialize the agent with the init function, and we will provide it with the system prompt. What will be the system prompt? System prompt will be this one here. Yes, so this will be the system prompt which will be passed, and then self.system in this variable we will assign it, and then we have to provide it with the memory system. So this here self.messages, this is the conversational memory of your agent. So every conversation that you have with this agent, everything will be stored in this set of messages, and it will be passed to ChatGPT, so that ChatGPT has some short-term memory. So we will call this as short-term memory. So if you asked it multiple questions, it will also store everything here, and it will remember all the messages that were communicated. So okay, now if there was a system prompt provided, what we will do is we will append it to the list of messages. So if we provide this system prompt will be appended to the list of messages here under self.messages. Okay, so this is the initialization part. Next, what is this underscore call? So basically this is a method that allows us to convert our agent or allows us to make the or call the agent as a function. So this is a special call operator. So basically instead of typing, so I don't know, agent dot call and then type a message which chat GPT agent are you? So instead of agent are you, sorry, AGENT, okay, which ChatGPT agent are you? So instead of that, you can skip this call and you can just say agent, and then you can write this, and then it will know, okay, I have to call this function. So this is how we will use it. So I will show this. Okay. Now, okay, the first thing when the user calls this agent is it will pass a message. So this message has to be appended to the list of our messages. So when it was initialized, the system prompt would have been appended, and now the user question would be appended. The user question would be, I don't know, how much does a bulldog weigh? Probably, because this is the example we are working with. So we will say how much does the bulldog weigh, and then this will be appended to the list of messages. And then we will call a execute function, and in this execute function what we will do is we will call this OpenAI API, which will be this client, OpenAI client. We will call this client, and we will pass all the messages that we had. So we will choose the model and we will pass all the messages like this in this function. So let's have a quick look. And once there is a result, we will again append it back to the messages, so that in the next call, it already has the previous messages appended. So first append the user message. So you can see here the role, this is where the role plays a major part. So first time when we appended, we set the role as user, and then we provided the content as message, so whatever message the user sends. But next time when we append the result, we will say role as assistant, which means now ChatGPT will know that this message was actually a response of the AI itself. So these are standard terms that are used. So if it is a user, it will be user, and if it is a role as an assistant, it will know that this is an AI assistant. So ChatGPT will know that this was a response generated. And here if it is system, then this is the backstory or the original prompt of what needs to be done. Okay, now to the execute command. This is where we have this client.chat.completions.create, the API call for calling the OpenAI API. Okay, so we choose the GPT 4.1 model, and okay, temperature is okay. If you set it to 0, its accuracy is higher. I think we can discuss it some other time. But okay, messages equals self dot messages. This is the important. So what we did was we appended all the messages here until now, and finally we are calling execute here. So it now has the system message, which is the prompt that we wrote here, and then it has the user message, which was the question from the user, and then finally we send it to ChatGPT. So every time this execute function is called, all the messages are sent to it, and this will be passed through the context window. Okay, and then we will return its response so that we can print it out later. Okay, and for now these are the tool. So let me type this. This is the tool number 1. So we will say these are the tools it has to use, and then this is tool number 2. What are these tools? So tools can be anything. Like tool can be your actual Gmail tool, and to your Gmail tool you can write, okay, create email tool. So but you have to tell ChatGPT how it has to perform this. So for that, maybe there will be an API call, and you can have def create email, right? And then you have to tell it how to create this email and stuff like this, your permissions and all this. But for simplicity purpose, we have these two functions, and the first one is calculate function. Here what happens is, if you provide an input string as 1 plus 1, it will return true. Basically it evaluates any string that you give it. So this is the eval output. And then the tool number 2, this is where we will ask ChatGPT about the average dog weight, and then the agent should use this tool to find the average dog weight, and then it has to respond. So we have Scottish Terrier, Border Collie, Toy Poodle. These are the 3 different dogs. It's just for test. So these are the 2 tools that we will provide our agent. Okay, and then we will create this nice dictionary called known actions, so that the agent or ChatGPT knows which are the available tools here. So if we add a third function here, we can add it to this dictionary here, and then the AI agent can know this. Okay, so this final function is regex compile. So basically what it does is it looks for an action, a keyword action, and then followed by any word, and then followed by any other string. So this is regular expression, Python regex. I think this will be some separate video, but let's say it looks for this kind of output. So role, user, and then content, messages. So basically instead of role it looks for action. So uh, if the decision of the agent was that it has to perform an action, then this will be used to check if there is an action needed to be done. Okay, so this is the use of this short function. So coming to our final query, so here we will write a loop, a query loop, and we will try to loop through at least 5 times, because as an agent we don't want it to respond immediately, right? So our whole goal was to go through a loop of actions wherein we perform this 4 different steps, right? So we perform this thought. First step is thought. So use the thought to describe your thoughts about the question you have been asked. Perform the action. So in the next step it has to perform the action. Then it has to take a pause, and then it has to observe what will be the result, and if it feels that the result is the final answer, then it has to output it. So for 4 actions we will use a loop of, let's say, max turn of 5. Okay, now here we initialize our agent with the system prompt. So we are now passing the system prompt with the agent. So we had created this class, so we are initializing it, and we are passing the system prompt, and that system prompt would be passed into its self.system. Okay, understood, clear. And then next prompt equals to question. Okay, now comes the question part. This query will be called by the user, and user will pass his question, and then we will pass this question as the next prompt. So when we initialize the agent, we will provide it only the system prompt, and then we will call the agent again, which is this, what we have defined as bot. We will call the bot, and then we will pass the user question so that it can start acting based on the system prompt and the user question. Okay, now here what we are doing is, this is just basically a counter. We will count until 5, and if it is not less than until 4, we will run this while loop. If it becomes 5, then we will exit. Now, okay, now with the bot, which is this agent, we will pass this next prompt, which is basically the question. So the question will be passed, and then we will print the result of this. Okay, and here what we are doing is, here we are checking if an action is needed to be performed, and if this is the case, what we will do is we will look here for the known actions. So I will not explain. Okay, okay, so this is just to raise an exception if the action that was needed to be done is not in the list of known actions. Then we will raise a exception saying okay, unknown action. But if not, then we will come here and we will perform this known action. So this known actions was a list that we wrote down here. So this is the list of known actions, and then that action will be called, and from that, which is basically a function, this will basically return the name of the function. So this calculate is the name of the function here, so that function will be called, and for this average dog weight function will be called, and then we pass the action input, and then observation will be printed out here. And after this we will pass the observation as next prompt. So okay, we found an observation that okay, we have to take an action, and then we pass it as a next prompt saying okay, next, after the action, what needs to be done. So after the action, maybe you have to do a pause, so that will be the step, or after the thought, next step is action, and stuff like this. So okay, so after all this, we will call our query. What is the average dog weight of a Scottish Terrier? This will be the question, and we will check how this performs. Okay, sorry, this is not ChatGPT test. We are performing this agent from scratch. Okay, so as you can see, thought, the first step was thought. I should find the average weight of a Scottish terrier using the available action average dog weight. So basically ChatGPT figured out that there is an action called average dog weight and it has to use it to perform this. So this was the first thought, and then comes the action, which is average dog weight with the input Scottish tier, and then you have to pause, and then it runs the average dog weight with this, and then it got an observation. So Scottish tiers average 20 lbs. So Scottish tiers average 20 lbs. This was the return. So it made an observation, and based on this observation it gave the final answer. The average weight of a Scottish tier is 20 lbs. So this was the whole 4-step process of our agent that we were able to perform just by using a basic API call, which is this client.openai. So hope you guys like this. I understand this can be complex when you first look at it. Please ask your questions in your comments and I will try to answer your queries, and have a nice day. Thank you.